The first year of me being in Vshojo was a great blast. It was awesome. Everything was so much smoother. The contract was way better than I'd ever had from anything, right? I was very happy. The problem for me kind of started arising the second year. The second year, everything started being a little bit more disjointed. You might have noticed that there wasn't as much Vshojo collaborations, like full group collaborations. Everyone kind of started doing their own thing. That's not a coincidence, you know. There's been stuff, right, going on. But the thing is, I guess the one thing I'd say is just a lot of empty promises. You might say, so obviously we didn't know about how dire the situation was until very, very recently, right? I feel like a lot of people on the internet, especially in this like VTuber sphere, are very stupid and immature in the sense that when they hear being part of a company and they're like, oh my god, company has bad side, then they just go onto the, then why the hell are you still in the company type of shit, right? The reason why a lot of us, well, I don't want to speak for everyone, but definitely for some people, including me, to stay, before knowing about this charity thing, by the way, this is before any of that, but for that extra year, it's because we had meetings. We had meetings with Gun and other people talking about like what we don't like and what we want to see improved. And we were told that things were going to improve. We were told that things were going to change. We were told that our stuff was being, you know, took seriously, right? If you have a job, right, in real life, then you know that most fucking companies have downsides, right? And it's very rare that a company will actually talk to you about their downsides and say, hey, you know what, you're right, I am going to change this in the company. So, obviously, a lot of people were giving second chances, third chances to the company, extending the period of time where they're still in here, right? Again, I have to preface this is before knowing the charity shit, right? And for everyone else's funding, I will get on to that in a bit because I have something to say about that for myself, right? You may have heard on Kayson's stream, you may have heard that she wasn't paid, what was it, since September last year, right? Now, we receive our money directly to us for like Twitch, right? Like Twitch, YouTube, anything like that. The only thing that we don't receive is merchandising and sponsors. And so you might be like, oh, okay, well that's fine, right? That's fine, because you have to rely on them to pay you for your merchandise and sponsor money, but at least you still get like all your main income, right? The thing is, a lot of streamers, they make more money from doing sponsors and merch than actually streaming. And I feel like not many people understand that, right? So sponsors bring in a very big amount of a streamer's income. That's why so many streamers do try to aim for like a monthly sponsor that just gets them through the whole month or the next 2 months, right? Sponsors are very big. So not being paid them for a long time is kind of a problem, you know? Because it's a big chunk of your income, right? I'm gonna tell you guys a little funny little fact. You guys remember when I debuted in 2023? I sold a bunch of merch. I think I had like a shirt, acrylic stand, like some other stuff, right? It was my debut merch, right? I debuted in 2023. I got paid for that June 11th this year. I got paid for that merch from 2 years ago, last month. And that's a fact. Maiko is the GOAT, and he was able to get me paid. But I wasn't paid for that first merch and a bunch of other ones. Or I didn't know that I was missing that merchandise payment, right? Because Vshojo doesn't pay merch monthly. They pay it quarterly. If you're a streamer who streams a lot, especially other members who stream way longer, you're trusting your like company or whoever's in charge of your financials to get it right, right? And you're not checking it all the time. You're not checking all the time to make sure every single thing is correct and you're getting paid for every single thing, especially if it's quarterly. So I didn't pay attention to that. And by the time that I started like slowing down on streaming after around a year, you know, that was a whole year ago. So I thought, oh, that's already accounted for, right? Because who the fuck looks at that after a year and then you're like, oh, you know what? I should check if I was paid for the first merchandise I had when I debuted, right? You don't think about that. But it feels really fucking stupid and really almost humiliating to say all the things that I've said about the company, right? Like, because it's like betrayal, right? It's like, I glazed you, bro! And then this is my personal opinion. Their contract was way better than I'd ever had, right? I still stand by that fact. But the problem is, if you can't provide what the contract says, then the contract means nothing. It doesn't, it's just like fluff. It's just false words at that point. That's how I feel, personally. Once I found out about the charity thing, I immediately started talking like, I was like, bro, no, I'm out. Like, obviously, no one's really communicating with each other that they have problems with their financials. You know what I mean? Because it's their business, right? Once this happened, everyone started coming forwards internally, being like, the fuck? Me too, right? You know? It's like, wait, what the fuck? You too? And that's when everyone kind of mutually decided, it feels, to be like, all right, nah. And then the charity was like the fucking icing on the cake, bro. It was like, if there was even a shred, even a 0.001%, it's gone after that. You don't fuck with charity, dude. Hypothetically, if a company, hypothetically, that isn't real, took a bunch of that money and then didn't pay it to charity, that is hypothetically, very hypothetically illegal. And not something that I want to be a fucking witness to, hypothetically, right? So, listen, man, I don't want to be like a fucking accomplice in this shit, hypothetically. Hello? So I'm out. I was actually supposed to get my termination contract before Mousy had posted that. I had a meeting like 10 days ago, or more, way more, actually, 12, I don't even know. And I told them, like, hey, I want to leave, I don't agree with any of this stuff, and I want to go. And they were like, we can get that done, like, in a day. Like, and I was like, okay. And then the next day passed, and then another day passed, and then another day passed, and I didn't get my contract, and I was like, okay. The thing is, guys, I don't ask for much in the company. Like, out of every single person in this company, I think I've probably asked the least. This is the one thing I fucking asked. I just asked, can I have my termination contract? They said, yeah, in like the next day or the day after. And I ended up waiting like 10 to 11 days with no message, right? For my like leaving contract, I didn't even ask for anything special. You know, a lot of people, they're like negotiating and stuff, like, you know, get your most worth, make sure you're safe, right? I didn't even do that. I didn't even fucking negotiate. I said, like, this is what I think. These are the terms. Do you agree? They're like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, okay. And that's it. Just give me the fucking termination contract. I'm gone. Right? But I get it. There was a lot of other people also wanting to do that shit or whatever. But, well, no, I don't know. No, I don't think so. Because a lot of people, some people didn't even know about this until Mousy dropped that, which was 10 days later. Dude, I had to ask for that like 10 days in advance. Like, what? Whatever. I sound like I'm not like super sad. I have been. I'm just trying to be a little bit more positive because everyone is fucking sad right now. Everyone's sad. Everyone is screaming. Everyone's like taking the time off. I haven't streamed consistently in 3.5 weeks. As you guys, if you're a regular viewer, you know, I haven't. So I've had a lot of time to sit in the fucking corner of my room and be like, ah! Let me see. Let me make sure there's not anything else I'm like missing real quick. Also, the friendships that we have between Vshojo members, not just like JP, that's not gonna change either. We're still fine. I'm still gonna fucking collab with people, you know? We're not gonna like cut each other off. And honestly, that is the biggest beauty. We don't have to stop. We don't have to cut each other out. Like, we can still do stuff publicly. Is there any questions you guys want to ask that no one's really answered yet? Maybe I can see if I can answer in a way that I can, or just like things you want to say, because yeah, I think I got pretty much everything. What's your favorite hobby? My favorite hobby is leaving companies.